The play, so written by Mike Kenny, who you'll meet through these videos. It's a play that looks at York during the First World War through the eyes of the Rowntree factory owners and workers. Now, the whole chocolate industry in York is massive. At its height, it had 14,000 people employed in these factories, so it's a big thing in the city, and it's important to the community in the city. And it deals with faith and responsibility and duty. So the responsibility of the employers, the responsibility back of the employees, and the collective responsibility to defend the homeland during a very difficult period of the First War. That is it in an essence. Boil it down as much as I can.
And is there a love story involved?
There are lots of individual stories involved, yes. So we meet the young couple that fall in love before he goes to war and dies. We see the mother who has 3 different telegrams about all of her sons who die at war. We see all of the women step into the jobs at the factory that the men had held before, and of course that period really shifted the way that the whole world looked at women in the workplace, because before they weren't expected or allowed to work, and after that everybody realised that they could, and they were really good at it, and the world totally changed after the First World War. Millions and millions of men went to die, and so we're telling that international story through a local chocolate-based perspective.
Great. What can the audience expect from the experience of being part of the Blood and Chocolate experience?
Well, Blood and Chocolate is all about the audience experience. So somebody can arrive at York Theatre Royal with their ticket for Blood and Chocolate to the box office, and they say, brilliant, head back over to Exhibition Square outside the art gallery. It's kind of beautiful, kind of fountained area. And there's a big Blood and Chocolate flag, so they go and wait under there, and they get met by lots of lovely volunteers who give them a set of headphones, big kind of DJ-sized headphones, which they wear around their neck, and a transmitter, which they also, a receiver, sorry, that's about that size, they also wear around their neck. And they sit there and they kind of gather, and there's 200, 300 people, 400 people gathering, they're kind of waiting. And all of a sudden, a big lorry will drive in front of them, and in the dirt on the side of it, in big letters, will be "Put your headphones on now." And they start to think, this is very exciting. So they put their headphones on, and what we can do with these headphones is it means we can play through the city in a really epic scale, but in a very intimate way. So I can talk as an actor to the audience at exactly the same level as I'm talking to you, but I could be half a mile away. I could be top of York Minster whispering to you with underscore, so it becomes very cinematic. And what we do is, using that and the headphones and the sound technology, we make a 360-degree play that happens through the streets of York. And the audience will never know what is part of the play and what is part of real life in the city, because we'll do a few plants very early on where they start to think, so if the drunken racegoers in York are stumbling through on their night out through the action, actually the audience will look at them and go, oh, that's clever. Oh, that's clever, they're going to turn into 1914 characters in a minute. So everything blurs, and that fusion of what's modern and what's living history and what are the ghosts of the past, it all starts to fuse. So the audience can expect something unique, epic, and truly immersive.
Great. How many actors are involved? I know there'll be some professionals and the rest will be from the community, but what sort of numbers are we talking about?
We're going to have 4 professional actors, which will kind of be the anchor, around which we have another 200 community actors who are already cast at this moment and have already started work towards rehearsals and some of the skills that they're going to need to do it. So I suppose the important thing about that is that we are telling the story of York and the people of York in the streets in which these stories actually happened, with people from York nowadays. So it gives it a real heart and a real base within its community in the story that we're telling.
And how did you recruit your cast of hundreds?
A very long audition process. We spent a month auditioning hundreds and hundreds of people who wanted to be part of it, and we knew very early on that we could only afford to costume 200 people, so that was the limit that we we could have. So we met all of them. They came and did a workshop with Alan Lane, the director, and Tom Bellaby, the associate director, and myself. And we just, we just kind of played games, did workshops, got to know them, and explain more about the project, because of course some of them actually might have come to meet us and said, actually I don't like the sound of that anymore. So it was a two-way thing really. And after that we sat down with hundreds and hundreds of photos of everybody, trying to remember who they were, what their skills were, and started to match them up and build our company. So that's how we ended up with 200 cast members.
Great. And I understand that you've also got probably as many people again from the local community filling production roles in the process.
Even more,
Even
even more than double. So all in all, 200 cast members, another 500 people from the community involved, and that is in all aspects of delivering the event. So we've got a photography group who document everything that we're doing, right from audition process right until the final performances. We've got a costume team of at least 60 ladies who are coming together to make all the costumes. 200 cast members, we're actually talking about 600 costumes, because most of them have at least 2 or 3 parts that they need to play. Front of house volunteers, we're kind of stewarding, we're taking 500 people around the city every single evening.
I understand you also the community producer on the Mystery Plays last year. Are some of the people involved this year also people that were involved last year, or are they new people, or is it a mixture?
It's a really good mix. I'd say it's about 60% people coming from the Mystery Plays, from the experience of that, and about 40% new faces, which is great. And actually most of those, that 40% are people who heard how wonderful people's involvement in the Mystery Plays was, and they wanted a bit of that. So we're really lucky in this city because it's got a strong theatre making tradition and a strong community feel, and actually something like the Mystery Plays that's been around for 800 years kind of underpins that. So to be able to take that forward into a totally new play about York's history, a different part of its history, is quite special, it's quite important.
And chocolate making is very deep in York's history, isn't it? And there are lots of people in the city who've been involved in Rowntree's and Nestle and Terry's, and how have you been able to use their experiences as well?
Yes, there's lots of satellite projects that we've been working on alongside Blood and Chocolate. One of which is called Clocking In. It's a verbatim play, so verbatim being taken from people's real accounts, and we use their real words to shape an evening theatre. So we've had over 100 interviews with people who've worked in the chocolate factories, and you go anywhere in the city, whether it's your taxi driver, whether you go into the local shop, everybody has a story about the chocolate industry. Great.
I'm going to ask you a little bit now about some of the less glamorous side of the producer's role. Is it quite difficult to juggle the budgets on a production of this size? You mentioned that you could only afford 200 people, and you knew that a long time ago. How do you know which order to decide things in, and what has to go and what has to stay?
Well, I think it's never the same on any one project, the order that you have to make decisions, and you learn as you go along. I mean, a producer has to oversee everything. So a producer puts the teams together to deliver projects, and then make sure the team are communicating, make sure the team are working to the budgets that you've set them, and making sure the team delivers the project that everybody hopes and expects will be delivered. The budgets are really difficult, and actually you get better at it as years go on, because you have a better knowledge of roughly what things cost. Because at the beginning of this process, I just had to guess. I didn't know that Alan Lane, as director, wanted a huge barrage balloon going over the streets of York, which he does. I didn't know that he wanted to make the whole of Parliament Street disappear with smoke effects, which he does. But I had to guess early on what kind of things he might be wanting and put some money alongside it. So it's guesswork initially, and then as you go through it, each team, so Sian with costume, she gives me the actual costings for what Anna, the designer, has asked her to deliver. So then we can start to boil it down and be very precise with it as time goes on. But you can't do that early on. And in a way, the process of just throwing numbers at a spreadsheet is quite a good thing to start off with, and then refining that as you go along and trying not to be too. Producing, I always think, is mainly about being a people person. That's definitely the way that I come at it. And it's also about troubleshooting. You can make all the plans in the world, but things will always change. And it's about being quick on your feet and nimble and being able to deal with problems that arise. And that includes anything from budget. Budget's going totally out the window, to the fact that maybe there's a truck parked down the street that we usually go down, and we've got to redirect 500 people, around a different way around the city. So I think the producing is a very exciting role, and the budgets should never really dictate what the artistic output is.
Did you always know you wanted to be a producer? Is that how you started in theatre?
Do you know what? I did always want to be a producer, but I trained as an actor originally, and I still do that. But I knew that I wanted to make theatre that I thought should be made, and I wanted to be in charge. And as an actor, you don't get any of those decisions. You get told if you've got the part or not, you get told what you're wearing, you get told the lines that you're saying, and you kind of get told by the director how they want you to play that character. As a producer, you get to choose people who you really believe in and whose work is exciting, and hopefully put on something that audiences really, really want to see, and that's why I wanted to be a producer.
Is there any specific training that a producer needs to have?
No, I think learn on the job. I think you can go and do producing courses, I'm sure, but I can't imagine they'll really give you anything. Well, you need to go, you need to sink or swim, don't you? You need to just have a go, and I think that's the same in most areas of theatre.